Michael Boyle's StrengthCoach.com presents the Strength Coach Podcast, brought to you by Perform Better, the experts in functional training and rehabilitation. PerformBetter.com.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 183 of the Strength Coach Podcast, the official podcast of Michael Boyle's StrengthCoach.com, the world's best source for strength and conditioning information. You can try StrengthCoach.com out for 3 days for just $1, and if you have a staff of 2 or more and you want to sign up as a group, we have a special membership offer for you, up to 50% off, depending on how many people you got. Check it out at StrengthCoach.com. All right, I'm your host, Anthony Rena, and the show notes are located at StrengthCoachPodcast.com. Want to get in touch with me, shoot me an email to StrengthCoachPodcast@gmail.com. Please think about buying a t-shirt at booster.com/collect moments to help contribute to Brendan Rierick's fighting aplastic anemia. We have a nice Collect Moments Not Things t-shirt, and all proceeds are going to help Brendan with his expenses. You can check out an interview with Brendan on the last episode. All right, on the Coach's Corner with Coach Boyle, I spoke about the article, Don't Look in My Window Until You Talk to Me First, his videos, Downhill Lunge and NB Rotary Throw, what are the prerequisites and regressions, and the truth about achieving excellence. That and much more coming up on the Coach's Corner in a little while. Aaron McGurr from Perform Better joins us to talk about the current sale and the start of the summits in Orlando, Florida. For the Results Fitness University Business of Fitness segment, Rachel Cosgrove is on to talk about dreaming bigger. For the Art of Coaching with Exos, Brent Calloway is on to talk about part 2 of forming a system in the team environment. For the Functional Movement System segment, Brett Jones is on to talk about creating positive responses. Lee Taft is on for a short segment on his topic, taking speed from general to specific. He's going to be that's his topic at the Complete Speed and Power Summit in May. For the Hit the Gym and the Strength Coach segment, I have on Rhonda Catt, founder of Catt Conditioning. She's on to talk about her article, Grief and the Strength Coach, and the lessons in art of coaching from grief. Rhonda talks about heart disease and some warning signs that you might not know about. That and much more coming up from Coach Catt in a little while. Lots of things to get to, so let's get on the phone with Coach Boyle. All right, now it's time for the Coach's Corner with Coach Boyle. Coach, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Anthony. How are you?
I'm doing all right, Coach, I'm going to start out with an article that was written by one of your more talented members, really handsome as well. The article that I wrote called Don't Look in My Window Unless You Talk to Me First. And basically, I'll just give everybody a synopsis that it was based off of the quote at the end of the book in Designing Strength Training Programs and Facilities, which everybody can download if you're a member of StrengthCoach.com. And it said, and it was always resonated with me, and I always kind of tried to live by this. I often ask coaches or trainers to visualize a prospective athlete or client simply watching a workout through a window. No sound, just a visual. Are they impressed? This is the mirror in the window. Coaches like people are always watching and like it's a direct reflection of your skills. So like I said, I've always tried to kind of live by that and think, okay, if I send people here, but I think underneath, I was always a little nervous. I thought about some of these people that I have, and I think, I don't want anybody watching with these clients, but unless you talk to me first. And why? Because basically I felt, they don't always have the best form even after training with me for 11 years, or, like if we don't know somebody's background, you can't understand their program. If you don't know their injury history, you don't know why they're not doing certain things. If you don't know their personality, same thing. You might look at them and be like, wow, the guy's got that little skinny fat belly. Is really what he's doing. Is it working? And if you don't know what's going on in their personal life, you can't always understand their focus or effort. So I did a little case study with one of my clients who I've had for 11 years and kind of went over what he was doing. And then I did a little thing where somebody was looking in the window, what maybe those internet trainers or people that don't really train anybody for the most part, or, maybe they would say based on, some of the stuff that they're seeing. And I thought it was kind of funny. We got a good response to it. There's been some good talk about it. And one thing that kind of struck me is then you wrote was, we get a little bit nervous about some of that stuff too. And I thought that was kind of cool because, for people like me or a lot of people on the site, and you're a big influence, obviously, and you're a mentor. To hear you say that too, that you're worried about it. You were saying about how somebody like, oh, these people are never going to come back. Just kind of expand on this idea that you go through this stuff too.
Yeah, and I think what I'd said in the forum thread was that when you talk about this mirror and window idea, it's a concept. It's a way to make people think about what they're doing and to give them the opportunity to review and say, hey, am I the guy who adds strength to dysfunction, or am I a guy who makes people move better and feel better? But the reality of the situation is that we all have the guys, like you said, we all have those clients who don't move well. We all have clients that aren't sort of adhering to the letter of the law. And I've had people come, whether it's mentorship people or people that visited, and I have the same feeling that you had in terms of, Jesus, I hope they don't see so-and-so. I hope they're not here when he's here. I hope they don't come in week 1 of the training session when we've got all new kids in, because all these kids are going to be awful. They're going to skip wrong, and they're not going to be able to clean. They're not going to be able to squat. And gee, I wish they'd come in week 10 when they saw what a great job that we did. But I don't regulate it that way. I don't say, we can only have visitors in week 8, 9, 10. It's kind of like if people are around and they want to come in. I always say you see the real Mike Boyle strength and conditioning, warts and all, and you see us in a real imperfect state. And I always say, I think we're doing it better than a lot of people are doing it. But I think any nitpicker could walk in and be like, oh, that guy, his plank isn't good. His head's forward when he's doing a push-up, or he's going, he's forward in his split squat when he should be going straight up and down. You're going to see the same mistakes at our place that you see every place else. And that's, to me, normal and part of the day-to-day of what we're doing as personal trainers or as strength and conditioning coaches.
It's funny because I think also it almost should say, watch my coaches through that window. Because that'll tell you. Because, if I went there and watched your coach's coach, then I would definitely be impressed. I wouldn't care about what the people are doing. I would say, ooh, look. Because if I came in and all I saw was, come on, guys, you can do this. All right, come on, a little more effort. Then I might be like, wow, these guys are just rah-rah in here. But
right, exactly. There's somebody on their phone or somebody just counting reps.
Yep.
But I think the thing to understand is that the mirror and window is more of a metaphor, and it is meant to be taken literally in one way, and probably not meant to be taken literally in another. Like with everything, don't take it too literally. Don't look at it and think,
yeah,
oh, it has to be that I'm gonna want to go and throw myself off a bridge if I don't. If someone comes in and sees my imperfect client here, because the reality is, they said, one of my long-term clients is a 65-year-old doctor, and I think he moves unbelievable for a 65-year-old guy who works sometimes 12 hours a day. But someone else coming in watching him might be like, well, his push-up's not perfect, and he moves a little when he does his plank reaches, and his one-leg SLDL isn't as good as it should be. And I'm like, yep. And he's my he's my 11-year guy, but he's probably more like 16 years. And the reality is, we always argue about it. I always tell him that every day he's not getting worse, he's getting better, because he's aging. He'll look at me sometimes like, I used to be able to bench 225. I used to be able to do 185 for 10. And I'm like, you're 40, doc. You know what I mean? It was 25 years ago.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you expect? But he still thinks, he's always like, when are we going to do cleans again? I'm like, doc, you're never doing cleans again. Those days are over. And yet, sometimes he'll come in on a Saturday when I'm not there, and he'll be like, I did cleans with Dana. His buddy comes in with his other rowing buddy, and they do cleans when I'm not around. Like, they literally sneak around. And that happens with the trainers. Like, even I can remember Brendan would always want to deadlift his clients, and he had this sort of group of like 40-something-ish guys who liked their heavy deadlifts, and they'd heavy deadlifts on days when I wasn't there. And they were always like, oh, we don't like when you come on Tuesdays because we can't deadlift. So I mean, I think everybody goes through it. And I think that's the beauty of the article that you wrote and of people commenting in. I think a lot of people felt better, like, oh, geez. I think it's very common to have that feeling of, wow, it's great to know that there are other people who feel like I feel. And whether it's in this particular situation or in other situations where, you realize that the idea is to strive to be perfect, but also not to get too caught up in the fact that you're supposed to be.
Yeah. I don't know I know it was just the last episode, and you're usually one or two behind depending on where Michaela's playing hockey. But did you listen to Brendan's interview last episod?
I haven't listened to Brendan's interview yet.
Okay, no, because we were joking about how, you know, you don't. I asked him how how his programming has changed. Not being in the NBSC bubble, and besides the fact that you don't have to do squats, bilateral squats on a Friday night at 1 a.m. when Mike's not there. So, but yeah, no, I had that conversation with my 83-year-old golfer. He's always struggling. He said to me the other day, he's like, "Oh, my swing speed stayed the same." And I'm like, "Oh my God, that's awesome." And he's
that's awesome. Yeah, that's an improvement.
It's an improvement. And I'm like, people decrease, their strength and power decrease every year. And if you're staying the same, that's pretty cool. But it's hard to convince somebody that, especially if they're still 83, coming to my gym 3 times a week and playing golf twice a week, then they got a little bit of a stubborn, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Coach, you posted 2 videos, great ones, downhill lunge and then the med ball throw on the mound, quote unquote, the mound. You have those little things where you're doing that kind of working on that decelerative property. Talk to me about what are the regressions. What do you want to see first before you even – because this is a typical thing someone's going to see. Say, I got my baseball players. I'm going to put them on this mound, and we're going to start doing lunges, and then we're going to start throwing the med ball. What are some things you like to see before you get this exercise going?
I think you have to look at that and realize that those are phase 4. And I almost didn't want to put them up because of exactly what you said in terms of, I'm going to do that with my baseball guy. And that's not the point. Is that particularly at the professional level, you have these guys who do one thing: they pitch. So if you don't have professional baseball players, or even at least high-level collegiate baseball players, you're not in the same situation that we're in. But I also want to show people some of the thought process from a specificity standpoint. Like, hey, you can make this. So when you start thinking, what do you want to see? Obviously, I want to see somebody be able to do a split squat on the ground. I want to be able to see someone be able to do a rear foot elevated split squat. I want to be able to see somebody do a lunge on the ground. But as we start getting specific and say, okay, now I want to start adding that load, that increased acceleration due to gravity of them going downhill, both on their front leg, which has to decelerate, and on their back leg, which is getting those sort of stretch forces, those extension forces, to get them ready for when they're going to actually pitch. And we did that in the same way with throwing. We started out with simple cuff dribble stuff, overhead, boom, 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 just dribbling the ball off the wall. And then we progressed to two-hand, kind of a soccer throw-in, a two-hand overhead throw-in. And then we started stepping, same progressions we'd follow. If you've read all the books and you watched all the videos we're doing, it's just that with these guys, we take that next more specific step of saying, okay, let's start thinking about going downhill, because that's really what's going to matter.
Yeah, I was thinking skiing right away. Now, I did a hike last week also, and I always say to people, going downhill is worse than going uphill, for me anyway. And it just kind of that downhill lunge kind of made me think those would be a good thing to do to get somebody, at the appropriate time for ready for skiing.
Yeah, you're right. And I think, and even that's when you start thinking about things like, we don't do much depth jumping. We don't tend to jump down. But you realize that the same thing. If you were training people who are going to go do downhill skiing, I'd probably want to start doing some depth jumping. We don't do things like wall sits. We don't do isometrics. If I was training downhill skiers, I'd probably do some wall sit stuff, some isometric things, to get them used to sitting in that crouch for longer periods of time. So I think you've got to realize is that specificity is the 20% or the 10% to your 80. When you start thinking about 80-20, 80% of the training should be the really good, simple, straight down the middle stuff. And then 20% of it should be these maybe specific, and even probably 10%, these kind of really specific little tweaks. Because I've spent my whole career trying to say, hey, don't worry about sport-specific training. And yet here I am showing up, throwing up a couple of videos of sport-specific training.
Yeah.
But yet I want people to understand, yes, there are going to be some things that will be unique to certain activities. That's unavoidable. The difference is everything else, the bigger picture, is not that way.
Absolutely. Coach, let's finish up. You posted on your blog, and we posted on the site, on becoming a master. I just want to read it really quick. One time, a fine pianist performed at a party. After she was done, a woman from the party said to the virtuoso, "I'd give anything to play as you do." As she sipped her coffee in slow motion, she took a brief pause and said, "Oh, no, you wouldn't." Soon, a great hush filled the room as they were baffled in astonishment and massive confusion. She continued, "You'd give anything to play as I do except time. You wouldn't sit and practice hour after hour, day after day, year after years." Then she flashed a warm smile while responding, while repositioning her cup of coffee. "Please understand, I'm not criticizing. I'm just telling you that when you say you'd give anything to play as I do, you really don't mean it. You really don't mean it at all." And you talked about, the Boston University players used to say, "Will you do anything to play in the NHL?" And, everybody's so enthusiastic, they raise their hands. And then you said, 80% of you are liars once you explained that anything meant a reduced social life, less alcohol, and an early breakfast every day. Many went from raised hands to sheepish looks. Can you just talk about another way, because this is super important. This is life-changing. Will you make those changes? This is action. What else do you do? Is this something that you try to keep doing in different ways with your players, with your athletes, with your clients? How much do you emphasize this type of thing? Because this is a huge thing that can change somebody's life.
I think when you have it's a specific subset of your group, those people who want you to think that they'd do anything. Because I used to always say to those guys, okay, now I'm going to define anything and see if we're still in agreement. And as I said, that's where the looks started to look at each other. Because I knew I had a lot of guys who wouldn't do anything. If I said, it involves, and there's a quote from Shank's book, Genius in All of Us, that says something about, you have to risk being different. You have to risk people looking at you like you're a little bit strange because on Friday night you're going to go and shoot pucks instead of go out with your friends. And that's not exactly what they say, but I said it to my Olympic girls. I said, I use these examples all the time, is that success is not easy or normal. And that whenever people, I'd do anything, you're like, that's why I love the thing when I read it. I always think that's such bullshit. You would not do anything. You wouldn't even come close to doing anything. If I could get most people to get close to anything, they'd really be improved. But the reality is most people, you can't even get close. They can't even get to the 80%, much less that last 20% of what it really takes to be great. And that's what I'm looking for when I have people, the high achievers, the people who say, I want this, I want to be in the Olympic team, I want to play in the NHL. It's like, okay, then I'll tell you what it's going to take. And then you can decide, do you really want to do that, or are you just bullshitting me? And it's amazing because I've had that conversation over and over again the last couple of years, whether it's with our Olympic girls or with BU players or whatever it was, in terms of here are the things that you need to do. And it was great. Like we just had 6 Boston College girls win a world championship last night. And I did say college, not university, just so you know, and it pains me. But those six girls all drove from Boston College to Woburn to train last summer for 2 months when they were in summer school. They came out because we said, if you really want to get better, you need to be here and train with us. You need to train with your teammates. You need to be in a situation where you're not the big fish anymore.
Yeah.
Where you're with people that are better than you. And they made that commitment. And as a result of making that commitment, they all end up making the team to go to the Worlds. They all end up winning a gold medal at the World Championships. And although I'm proud of all of our girls, I'm really proud of these BC girls because they could have just stayed at school and trained. It would have been easy for them. They've got a good strength coach. They've got a program. They've got a weight room. But we challenged them like, hey, if you really want to be world class, then you can't be the 6 best players in the room. You got to be someplace. You got to be there where you're with Hillary Knight and you're with Brianna Decker and you're with these people who are better than you. And you can see what better than you looks like every day and measure yourself in a different way. And they did that, and they got the result they were looking for. But there's a lot of people who are, it goes back to the whole idea talk is cheap. It's like the woman, and I think it's the woman, in the story, obviously. If you think about that, that's like the biggest dope slap in history, where she looks, politely repositions her coffee and says, no, you wouldn't spend the time. I mean, the reality is that's a pretty tough blow to handle. But it's true. It goes back to kind of that slight edge idea. Easy to do, easy not to do.
Yeah.
And that's the reality. There are all these decisions, and because you're doing it right now with the Craig Ballantyne stuff, there's so much of this easy to do, easy not to do stuff that most people just don't do. They just kind of gloss over it. Yeah, no big deal, tomorrow.
Yep. Yeah, and it's hard. I mean, like you said, it's not going to be easy. I'm a drinker. I worked in the bar business for 18 years. I like to drink. I'm like you. It's probably why we bonded originally. We like to go out afterwards and have some drinks. I like to, when I go to a hockey game, I want to have a couple of drinks. So for me to wake up every day at 10 to 5 and get to work at 5:30 so I can have minimum that hour now to spend and do work, it's a big, huge change. I'm also listening to Gary Vee stuff, which at first, like when I first heard him, I wasn't really feeling it, and I just said, no, I'm going to get through this, and it's really good. And he really talks about the same thing we just talked about. He said, if you don't plan on giving up your life for the next 2 or 3 years, don't call yourself an entrepreneur. Don't open a business, because you have to give absolutely, positively everything you have. You can't just say, you're going to do it. You have to, actions do speak louder than words. So it's really true. It's not, if it was hard, everybody'd be doing it. So
that's right. And trust me, that's my biggest struggle now. I still have days where I'm 56 years old. I've been doing it for 35 years. And I struggle with, if I don't, I'm not working enough. I'm not doing enough. I should be doing more. And I even tell the people who work, I said, don't look at me anymore. Look at Kevin, look at Marco. There's other guys to look at. Look at Ken that are here, that are working, that are breaking their ass every day hustling. That's not me. I'm getting to the point where I'm getting older, and I don't want to be there. Because I am like you. And I've got the additional compounding factor of kids. I like to have a couple of drinks. I want to see my kids' games. And yet I'm still trying to keep all these entrepreneurial balls in the air, and it's not easy. It takes a unique commitment. I always say one of the things, my big thing is start early, end early. That's why I don't mind having a couple of drinks at lunch.
Yeah.
I can go out from 12 to 6 and get myself in bed by 9 and be up at 5 and no problem. I get 8 hours of sleep. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, I'm just readjusting.
But I go to sleep now between 9 and 10 almost every night. Last night Michaela and I stayed up till almost 1:30 in the morning watching the World Championship game, because it was in British Columbia and it went into overtime. But normally for me, it is rare that I get past 10 o'clock on a weeknight.
Yep. Yeah. And my wife's in shock right now. So, but she's loving it. I'm trying to go. I'm convincing us. I'm like, well, it's 9 o'clock. We probably should be getting to bed soon. It's pretty rare. Anyway, Coach, thank you so much for coming on, and we'll talk to you next time.
All right, and thanks. I appreciate it.
All right, now it's time for the Ask the Equipment Experts with Perform Better, and I am here with the education expert, Erin McGurr. Erin, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
All right, the reason why I said that, obviously, is we're going to go over the first summit today in Orlando, but before we do that, what's the current sale?
Right now we are having the Spend More, Save More. I know we've had this a couple times already, but it seems to be a fan favorite. So the more you spend, the more you save. So any orders from $50 up to $99, you'll save 10% on your order. From $100 up to $149, you will save 15%, and then you will save 20% on all orders $150 or more. So we have that going on for a little while. So again, good time to save some money. And also, we still have our closeout specials on the web. We did clear out a lot of stuff, but we did add banana steps. I know a lot of people like banana steps, but those are on the closeout sale right now. And we have still some plyo boxes. We have some good educational materials, stuff from Alan Cosgrove, Lee Taft, Dan John, Rob Rogers. So we do have some good books and DVDs up there. So now's the time if you want to save. I know some of these items are up to about 40 to 60% off. So I would take advantage of that if that's something, or at least check it out and see if there's anything that is useful for you.
All right, very cool, very cool. All right, let's get on to the summits. In particular, the first summit, as always, it's funny. I was thinking, okay, maybe it'll be a little bit easier to crack the summits for some presenters who want to be out there, but not really. You guys, it's too hard. You got this such a great lineup. But let's go over Orlando. It's not really a 3-day summit; it's a 4-day summit, like we always say every year. Talk to us about what's going on Thursday for the pre-conference and bonus sessions.
Sure. Well, for Thursday, like you said, there are some free pre-conference sessions going on. So we have Gray Cook doing the first free bonus one on Thursday afternoon, and he's going to be covering the FMS approach to performance. So really discussing what should be tested after movement. And then we also have Rick Mayo doing the best of the best. So he is going to be speaking about the best business practices in our industry and kind of share with what he does and pretty much how to thrive in today's market. So for anyone that owns a business or is looking to run a business or just become better at their business, definitely check out Rick on Thursday. So both of those are free. We are also having the Certified Functional Strength Coach certification, which is going to be going on all day on Thursday. So that you do have to pre-register for. That's an additional charge, but we ran it last year. We had a great turnout, and I know a lot of people loved going there. So like you said, it used to be a 3-day summit, and now it's a 4, so we had a lot of people interested in attending early. So if you can get there, it just makes the experience that much better. Very
cool. Yep, I will say, the Certified Functional Strength Coach, it's such a great time to piggyback on it that a lot of people sign up for that, but so make sure if you plan on going, get there early. Sign up early. Also, Rick Mayo, I do love him. He's such a great speaker. Let's move on. We don't have to go over the whole schedule, but got some great guys. Saturday I was just looking, or Friday. Talk about the heavy hitters right off the bat. Charlie Weingroff, John Brookfield, Mark Verstegen, and then Rick Mayo's doing another one. But same day, Al Vermeil, Gray Cook, Chuck Wolf. Todd Wright's going that day. Alan's going that day. What a crazy day.
I know. We actually have Stu McGill, who's going to be coming down to Orlando. So he usually only does one summit a year for us. So I know he doesn't come to the U.S. to speak a lot of times. So we're very lucky to have him. But he's actually going to be coming to Orlando this year, and we'll be doing 2 presentations, one on Friday and one on Saturday. So very excited to have him back. Also on Friday, we have Thomas Plummer doing the feature presentation, so he's going to be doing a business talk after all the sessions are finished. I know a lot of people like to go to the feature presentation, and every year we try and change it up, but we do have Plummer coming to do another business talk. Obviously, we've been getting a lot of feedback for people to get more business talks in, so those have been doing great, and, Tom's Tom, so he's always great to listen to and a great way to end the day because he's very energetic, which I always tell him and I love. But like you said, just the lineup itself is going to be incredible. On Saturday, we have Gary Gray, Eric Cressy, Martin Rooney, Todd Durkin, Nick Winkleman, Bill Precy, Chris Moore. I mean, everything from personal training and fitness to analyzing movement to business and even nutrition. So that'll be a fun-filled day on Saturday. And then Sunday we have John Graham, Brian Grasso, Mike Gatone. We have some new people, Lance Walker, Rich Ohm, Dana Santis. So it'll be exciting. It is the first time we're going to be holding a summit in Orlando. So I know we've always done the 3 main locations, Providence, Chicago, and Long Beach. We are adding Orlando this year. It is the first one. So energy is always high in the first one. I know we're all excited to get down there. Who doesn't like Orlando? True. But it is going to be exciting, and I'm glad that we're going down to that region. So hopefully it'll be a great turnout. I know, obviously, with the presenters and the topics, it's looking good so far. So hopefully anyone that's down there would like to travel down and visit us for a couple
Yeah.
days.
And it's just guys like, for me, Nick Winkleman, I missed him last time because I thought I was going to another summit, so I kind of went to, I don't know, something else. But I was so bummed about that. But I do love that you have the Teaching the Power Clean with Mike Gattone. That's kind of a little different for Perform Better in terms of, I mean, we've never seen any kind of the any powerlifting or Olympic lifting type instruction there, so that's going to be pretty interesting. And having Boosh Nexniter, one of my favorites, he's awesome
He is.
on the Sunday. He really is, and just a great guy too. Gary Gray is back, and he's always got a lot of interesting stuff to talk about. So. Very cool. The summit's starting in Orlando in the old Providence time slot in June. So, but it's cool that you guys are taking advantage of that. So, awesome. E, we are looking forward to these summits.
Me too.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on, and we'll talk to you next time.
Perfect. Thanks for having me.
Welcome to the Functional Movement Systems segment. My name is Brett Jones. Today, I would like to talk to you about creating positive responses. Within the functional movement systems methodology, we, of course, run the screen and we identify our weak links. We're an appropriately run screen used, evaluated, and filtered via the corrective algorithm will identify a weak link that needs to be improved or could be improved. When we enact that protect part of the professional responsibility principle, remember, take away those things that may be stressing that pattern. Protect before you correct. But once you're correcting movement patterns is all about creating positive responses. I don't have a list of my top 5 active straight leg raise correctives. I have a menu of correctives that I can use on an individual. My job is to find the individual that creates the positive response so that an accumulation of positive responses over time can improve that pattern. We get long-term adaptation by having short-term positive responses. So when you screen somebody and you identify that weak link and you start down that corrective path, find the 1, 2, maybe 3 things that create positive responses in that pattern and go as far down that path as you can and keep encouraging those positive short-term responses, because that's the only way we get long-term adaptation. And the more we encourage those positive responses, the better and more efficiently we're going to correct those and work on those movement patterns. Corrective strategies are not standardized. There's not a one-size-fits-all program. And even in the research, when they do one-size-fits-all programs to try to improve movement, it doesn't work so well. Very few people will get the benefit out of that. Corrective strategies are always best when individualized. You find the things that create those positive short-term responses and look for your long-term adaptation by encouraging those. Remember, it's an a la carte menu. There's 1.62 million corrective exercises out there. I just made that up. I have no clue how many there are because it's limitless. Anything could be a corrective for the right individual. So it's not standardized. There's not one list of things. There's an a la carte menu that I pull from in order to find the things that create the positive responses for the individual. Remember your low-hanging fruit from a corrective perspective when you're looking for positive responses. Breathing. Crocodile breathing and 90-90 position breathing can be incredibly powerful for many reasons. Sometimes it's sympathetic versus parasympathetic balance. Sometimes it's patterning of the musculature, the diaphragm, and so there's mechanical realities, there's biochemical realities, there's neurological realities, and working on breathing. That can be a really powerful window into working with someone, creating positive responses. Soft tissue work, highly proprioceptive. I prefer to be pretty gentle with my soft tissue work. If you push hard enough, everything will hurt. Not the idea. With most of the soft tissue work, start light. You can always grow in intensity, but soft tissue work can be a key aspect. Make sure they have the mobility necessary for proper proprioception. That's why we're mobility first and mobility heavy on most of the things that we do, because if you have restrictions in mobility, you don't have the right proprioception for that pattern. So we want those positive responses, but we want the mobility. Then work on your motor control / stability. Stability doesn't mean no movement. Stability means proper control of movement. Get your static and dynamic motor control. These are low-hanging fruits. This is stuff that should get positive responses for people. Be willing to keep it simple. People leave me with 1 to 3 exercises. That's it. They're not leaving with 10 different things. They're leaving with 1 to 3 things that I know create a positive response in their movement pattern because I saw it happen in working with them. We did it together. We found the things that made a positive response. They felt it. Most importantly, I let the correctives magnify those problems, magnify those restrictions. I get the individual to feel what's going on. So be willing to be simple, filter those correctives, find the ones that create the positive adaptation for that individual. Keep in mind that simply stopping an activity or exercise might be the best corrective. So remember, when you're working with your people and going through your corrective strategies, filter those correctives, be simple, find the things that create positive short-term responses so we can get long-term adaptation. Have fun out there, and we'll see you on the next Functional Movement Systems segment.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Complete Speed and Power segment. This is Lee Taft. I'm really excited to be a part of the Speed and Power Summit coming up in Bloomington on May 21st, 22nd. Hey, I want to give you a little bit of a tip on my topic. And my topic is going to be basically taking speed from general to specific. So we talk a lot about it in our industry about being too specific with our training when we probably should have a little bit more general training in there and then build towards our specific. So a little tip that I have is if you've ever heard me talk before, I always talk about how speed, multi-directional speed is pretty natural. It's pretty reactive. If you watch young kids play, they just kind of react and they move and they play tag and they run around and dodge. And so when we do our training, one of the things we try to do is we make it as reactive as possible. That's not specific. That's very general because we know innately we like to move. We like to dodge or we like to escape or attack. So one of the things that we want to do is we want to make sure that we make our general training very reactionary, very random in nature. And then over time, we can make that movement, that reactive or random movement as specific as we need. So there you go. There's a little tip. Hey, I'm really excited to meet you. Hopefully you get a chance to come down to the Speed and Power Summit. If you get the opportunity, go to speedandpowersummit.com and check it out. Go ahead and register. Again, it's going to be May 21st, 22nd down in Bloomington, and I can't wait to see you. All right, this is Lee Taft. We'll talk to you soon.
Hello, it's Rachel Cosgrove from ResultsFitnessUniversity.com, and I'm here on the Strength Coach Podcast, Business of Fitness segment. And today, I really want to talk about dreaming bigger. This is a wake-up call for everybody. A wake-up call to really, shake you up and say, are you dreaming big enough? Are you being honest with yourself and really stepping up to what you're capable of? I feel like so many people in the fitness industry and in life are really, not stepping up to that bigger picture of what you can accomplish. So this is about setting those goals, those dreams, those desires that maybe you've been too afraid to even have for yourself. Maybe they've kind of crossed your mind, but you thought, oh, that just seems like it's impossible, or seems like, I couldn't even imagine it. Most of you are operating way under your potential. So now I know that a lot of you are very successful because if you listen to the Strength Coach podcast, obviously, you're continuing education, you're always pushing yourself, you're always learning, but still, I want to challenge you to really think about if you're working under your potential and really not operating, really to your true capability of what you really have to offer the world, what you have to offer your clients, what you have to offer this industry. I think every single one of you probably has more that you could give, but maybe you've been too afraid to imagine anything bigger, or maybe you just didn't know how to get there. You didn't see the path, you didn't know how to achieve those goals. So, you just thought it's ridiculous. Why even bother? And that's really, what I want to wake you up to today. So I want to give you some steps to really think about how can I step up to play on at an even bigger level, looking for that next game-changing idea. And that's something that we're always looking for is what's our next game-changing idea? What's the next, how can we make this industry even better? How can we change the way fitness is done. And, if you have, just that little inkling, maybe there's just something in your, like a nudge in your soul that you feel like you have something to offer, listen to it. And, that's really what I want to talk about today is just, really encouraging everybody who's listening in to just listen to that little voice, listen to that voice that you do have more to offer, and realize that you become exactly what you envision yourself becoming. So whether you are, maybe you're working in a gym and you're not happy with where you're at and you are ready to go on your own, or you're ready to open your own place, guess what? This is your wake-up call. It's time. Or maybe you already have your own place open, but maybe you haven't taken that next step of starting to hire a team and starting to build it so that it's an even bigger than only you. Maybe it's going to be a bigger company than what you could do on your own. And what are your steps to do that? So really, where are you going? What's next for you? So first step, and this is one of my favorite things to do and something that I just, have been doing recently, is redoing my vision board. If you have not done a vision board, it's something that I feel is so powerful because most of us are visual people. And so if you haven't sat down and really thought about what is it that I want, and then really, got images that connect with you and that motivate you and that really give you those feelings of what it's going to feel like to get to where you want to be. Start there with really, writing down exactly what you want to accomplish, and then creating some kind of vision board, goal board that you see every single day and that really gets you focused. So that's step one. Step two, tunnel vision. Once you know where you're going, get ultra focused, put up those blinders and get, absolutely focused, and don't be afraid to say no. If something doesn't fit into your vision of what you want to create, if you want to build your gym, you want to build your business, your company even bigger, and then you get an opportunity to maybe do something at a corporate level outside of your gym, guess what? That may not fit in with your vision and you may have to say no. So just something to think about. I think Marie Forleo, who's a business expert who I follow, she says, if it's not a hell yes, then it's a hell no. So just keep that in mind. If someone offers you an opportunity and you don't feel like, hell yes, I want to do that, then it's probably a hell no, so that you can stay focused and on track to really, figure out, to take those next steps to build what you want to build. And then the last step, get a coach, get a support group, be a part of a mastermind, be a part of a support system. Don't do this on your own. Absolutely do not do this on your own. It's really hard to, whether you're running a business, whether you're building your clientele, it can be really difficult to, and even we've had, trainers come out who maybe they work at a gym and they work among other trainers, but they don't connect with the other trainers because the other trainers don't get it. They don't get that, continuing education is important. They don't get that, really pushing yourself, and they're not helping you. They're not helping you get any closer to where you want to be. So look around at who's surrounding you and who you spend the most time with, and start to think about how you can, play at that higher level. What's that next game-changing idea for you? Take these steps, get your vision board in place, get your goals in place, tunnel vision, and then really, look for someone who's been there, done that, still doing it, and can help you along the way and lead you down that path and really help you from making those mistakes. So that's just a little, want to get you guys a little wake-up call today. I hope you guys all take action on these steps. And when you finish listening to this podcast, you really take those steps to move forward and to really start to offer even more. Just remember that you want to focus your talent on solving a bigger problem than you're currently solving. And just remember, the size of the problem is equal to the size of the reward. So look for a bigger problem, start solving it, start taking steps to get there, and change the way fitness is done. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Again, Rachel Cosgrove, resultsfitnessuniversity.com. Check it out for all of our upcoming events, and we will talk to you guys soon.
Hi, this is Brent Calloway for The Art of Coaching with Exos. We're going to kick off part 2 segment on forming and refining the implementation of a true performance system within the constructs of the team environment. Now, last time we spoke, I referred to the term system and being defined as a coordinated body of methods forming a complex or singular whole. And in order for that to work at a world-class level, the ideas and principles that were expressed by the leadership of the team were carried down all throughout. Now, last time we kept things pretty surface level, and we laid the foundation for developing the team theme and discussed getting all of the performance units working together. For instance, the team strength department and my nutrition department must always be on the same page. The data collected must hinge around what key factors we're trying to hang our hats on. And I said the messaging from the mindset department must be clear and permeate the team environment. So now we're going to take a deeper dive into the strength conditioning program and our system at Exos and how we implement that. So what we do from developing a training system standpoint is we look at each athlete specifically as well as the sport demands of what they play. Now, their abilities plus those sporting demands are going to give us the training program essentials. And inside of our programming, we're going to break that up into several specific categories: pillar preparation, movement preparation, plyometrics, movement skills, medicine ball work, strength and power sessions, all of our energy system development work, and regeneration. Those have overlying components of nutrition and mindset that play into each one of them. Now, because of this, our rehab staff knows and prescribes the corrective sessions that are being assigned based on their diagnostic findings with each athlete. And then the strength and conditioning department carries out that programming very smoothly. So everything works very hand in hand. Our movement preparation sessions and our plyometric sessions, the movement skill sessions, and the strength programming are all progressively built to fit the ability of not only the athlete, but where they are physically at that particular time. Now, this means a few things. Number one, it means you can always account for team need. Whatever the team needs, we can shift gears to try and accommodate for that. If we need more speed, we can program that. If we're not strong enough, we can program that. And each one of the individual categories will also turn as well. Return to play sessions are easy to design and implement. Players are going to get back to sport faster from injury. And all of the data that can be collected will measure the efficacy of our system as a whole, or we can break that up and measure it to individual performance categories as we described above. Again, for a deeper dive into these categories, I'll be leading a full-day pre-conference symposium at Ideal World in LA this summer on July 13th, and would love to fill up that room, so I'd love to have you guys join me. And as always, for more information about Exos Education, please visit us at www.teamexos.com/education.
All right, now it's time for the Hit the Gym with a Strength Coach. And today I have on Rhonda Catt from Catt Conditioning. And Rhonda's a longtime member of StrengthCoach.com and contributor, and wrote a great article that we're going to get to in a minute. That kind of prompted me to get on the phone with her today. So, Rhonda, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you. I'm honored.
Let me just set the background here. The article is called "Grief and the Strength Coach," and you were reluctant to send it to me because you're like, I don't know if this is something that. This is something totally different than, you put on StrengthCoach.com. We have different videos and programs, but you felt like you had written this and you kind of threw it at me to see if it would be perfect for the site, and it is, because I feel like it speaks to the art of coaching. But I want to talk about this. So the article starts out with, you had a lot of years in the industry and, you felt like you've been part of all of your clients' journey, but now that you could never truly be part of it because it wasn't happening to you. And you wrote the article, basically you wanted to share a message that, you hope strikes a chord with members. But how do we know that we're doing the best we can to help our client? And then it was the big uppercut right here. On November 3rd, 2015, your husband tragically passed away from a heart attack. So everything changed then. Talk to us about this whole thing.
Well, again, when I first wrote it, I was very, very reluctant to send it in because I think we look at the site. I know I did before all this happened. I look at the site to see, what can I learn to make myself better, and how can I help my clients and make them a better athlete? And I wouldn't have understood how this could affect me as a coach or a trainer. Now I truly believe if you aren't taking a step back and looking at this and understanding how people may grieve or how you can help somebody, then you're not going to be a better coach. The easy thing is, asking somebody how they're doing. I talk about that in the article. It a lot of times that's not the best thing that can come out of your mouth. So, I'm hoping that people will just take a step back and understand that there is other stuff going on in their life, and in order to be a really, really good friend and coach, you need to understand that sometimes we can't just be a coach. We have to take ourselves out of the weight room or stop the conditioning and think about the other things that are going on.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I was just telling you about the article that I had written, it's a similar idea. There's other things going on here with our clients and our athletes. You had written some points about this journey and, kind of approaching people. And I don't think it just has to do with only grief. But like I said, I think this has a lot to do with the art of coaching. So number one was, don't ask me how I'm doing. Just kind of elaborate on that.
Yeah, that's probably one of the most frustrating questions I still get. And that is such an easy question that I think comes out of our mouth tons throughout the day. What I was feeling, especially at the beginning, is people don't know how to deal with grief. They don't know how to say how they feel. They just kind of look at you like you have a third eye, and you're thinking, man, I think the best thing I should do is just turn around and walk away. When somebody would ask me how I was doing, I wanted to tell them, honestly, I wanted to tell them I was doing horribly. And, as life as I knew it was over. But when they looked at me with this blank look on their face, I knew I couldn't do that because I knew how uncomfortable they were with the topic. So it would just, I would just smile and say, fine. And you're not fine. You want to tell them the honest truth, which may mean you're going to bawl your eyes out right in front of them, but how awkward is that going to be for that person? So, I started to tell people, don't ask me how I'm doing. Just, smile at me or say, hey, it's great to see you today, because the fact that you're actually getting out is a big step. It's a big deal. So I just felt like I was trying to save them from not actually telling them how I was doing. I was starting to feel bad for other people.
Yeah. Well, what did you learn now? Turn it around. So, like, when your clients come in, because there also is this idea of, when we talk about some of the monitoring, the easy monitoring, where just saying, hey, Rhonda, how you feeling today? Like, or, I guess we should turn it around, or not turn it around, just word it differently, right? I mean, I should say, how's the body feeling? Any aches, any pains, anything like that, right? If I'm trying to get to that. But how do you approach your clients? Because even if they're not grieving, I mean, was there a lesson there that you turned around and you're doing things a little differently?
Absolutely. It's the fact that they're even there that day. Letting people know that, what, this is amazing that you're here. You're taking time out of your day to be here, to train, to be with, me. So you appreciate the fact that they want to be with you, or they want to come to the gym, or they want to train that day. It's letting them know that, I appreciate them, or I appreciate them taking that time. And it's the fact that they showed up.
Yeah, absolutely. At least they were there. Exactly.
Yeah.
The next one is another one where it could be tricky. Don't ask me if I've eaten. Now, again, talk to us about this, but we're going to turn it around on, because we do have to know about, we're in the health business. We're trying to make sure people are getting their pre and post and during and drinking enough water. So talk to us about, don't ask me if I've eaten.
Okay. I know that there's probably people that are going, what? But honestly, the first 2 weeks after Peter passed away, I think I lived on water and coffee. I never ate. I couldn't eat, but it wasn't because I didn't want to. I just physically couldn't eat. The thought of food made me ill. The thought of eating made me feel like I was accepting his death. And there was a lot of guilt. It felt like I was kind of just going on with life, and I couldn't do that. I couldn't accept that he was gone, and that this happened to us, or this happened to him, and eating was kind of like just life moves on, and I couldn't do it. So I knew I had to eat. I knew I had to, fuel my body and support it, but I couldn't do it. And so what was happening is, people were seeing this. The first couple of weeks, there was people all over in my home, and they were always on me. What are you eating? What are you eating? What, texting and what did you eat for breakfast? And it became to the point where I didn't want to talk to them, or I didn't want to read their text because it wasn't something I was doing on purpose. I knew I would start eating again. I knew that would happen. I knew it wasn't going to, obviously, I wasn't going to starve to death, but I had to allow myself to kind of deal with the emotions and deal what was happening. Before I could deal with that, as silly as it sounds, food was just not important. I couldn't do it. It wasn't important at the time. Yes, it's changed. I am now eating again, but it was a long haul. It started off with just, okay, I need to get fuel in me, so let's just drink a shake. And that honestly was one shake a day. I would try to get it in, try to finish it, and then slowly you would start to pick away at food, and you get that comes back, but it was a struggle. It was a struggle for a while.
Well, so talk to us now about turning that around on your clients. Is there a way that you've tried to approach some of your clients? Because obviously, again, nutrition is a very important thing. Have you approached them a little differently with this thought in mind?
The biggest thing is just, for me, just trying to allow them to understand that it is fuel, right? It's food isn't bad. It's not the bad cop here. It's just, it's such an emotional roller coaster, and I think we just are so easy at beating people up about it. Like, what did you eat for breakfast, and what's your pre-training fuel, and what's your post-training fuel, and sometimes it just doesn't work. So I now have a different understanding of is what are you at least getting through the day? How is this helping you through the day? And you need to be at least accepting the fact that at least you can understand that what you're getting through the day is helping you out in the long term, right? So it's hard because for me, it's just a completely different level. I experienced something a little bit different than the average client or people
Sure.
that I've experienced, right? So for me, I'm just saying, you know what, I'm smiling and I'm saying just do what you can and get what you can throughout the day, because we want to make sure by the end of the week you're still feeling good.
Yeah, and again, that's why I really this resonated with me about the art of coaching, because you do have to be in tune with what people might be going through, and so it's not, you can't always say you have this shake right now. It doesn't work like that. So.
Sometimes that it just doesn't work.
Yeah. Don't force me to get out because it will make me feel better. Yeah, this one is, and again, as gym owners, we want to see people as much as we can, not just for, the more they're in there, we feel like we're helping them. So just talk to us about this one.
Yeah, I think as a coach, you're so concerned about, you got to keep that consistency going. And what I actually experienced was, I had to deal with my grief. I had to mourn my husband, and obviously that is still happening. But people were very pushy, thinking, well, if I just got out and I spent time with friends and I laughed, and it would help me. But in actual fact, I felt like it wasn't allowing me to grieve, and it wasn't. Tears for me that was mourning my husband, and that was all about Peter. So I couldn't ignore that. So when people were trying to pull me out, hey, let's just go for coffee, even seems simple, but then you know what? I'm having to pretend that I'm happy, and I'm having to make these people feel comfortable, and I have to smile, and I have to laugh, and I have to tell stories that were completely meaningless, when all I wanted to do was just sit down and think about Peter, and maybe look at pictures and go through all the different levels of emotions that I was going through, and fear, and it's dark at that time. So you got to deal with that. it's so overwhelming. So in actual fact, pulling somebody out to be, hey, we got 5 girlfriends, let's go for coffee. Wait a second. The last thing I want to do is be surrounded by a bunch of people just talking about nothing. And that's kind of what it felt like at the time. Nothing was as important. I needed to grieve. And so you could say to your client, no, you got to get to the gym. You got to work out. It'll make you feel better. Yeah, you're right. But maybe they just need to be on their own. Maybe they just need some time just to absorb what's going on around them. And all you should be saying, or maybe the best thing to say is, you know what, I'm ready when you're ready. I'm here when you're ready to, that at least you're accepting, I think. And it gives you a sense of calmness or a sense of peace to say, good, let me do what I need to do.
Yeah.
Let me grieve how I need to grieve, and I'll see you when I'm ready.
Yeah, no, I agree. You can even just say, if you want to come when no one else is here in the gym, let me know. We'll try to figure something out. But when you're ready, we can do it. Because everybody grieves differently. Everybody goes through everything in life differently.
Exactly.
And so there's really, you and I were talking earlier through email, like there's no playbook for this stuff. So
no. I think what also people have to remember is there is a level of anxiety that's crazy, right? I had never experienced any of that. So even getting out and facing people, it was too much. I couldn't do it. So if you haven't experienced that, you won't understand that. You'll think that, hey, being with that person is helpful. But in actual fact, if they are dealing with some anxiety, you don't know if that event was traumatic that they went through. Once they get around people, it really could put them more in a fight or flight state, or it really just basically can freak the person out.
Yeah. This one, we're going to skip to number 5. My journey in fitness may change. And this is really an interesting one that we'd have to, again, I think we have, and I was talking about this recently too, is we have an ego when it comes to what we're doing. And I told you that when my brother died and I was trying to think of what I could have done, blah, blah, blah. Somebody had said to me, sometimes, she said, don't take this the wrong way. Sometimes, though, we overestimate our importance in these situations. And, for me, that was not just a lesson in helping me get over my brother's suicide. It was something that I carry with even mostly, also in fitness. I try to remember, look, we're just a piece of a big puzzle. We're important, sure, but let's not get too crazy here. And you got to understand that there's different ways to do this. So when you were talking about your fitness, my journey in fitness may change, you said maybe your hardcore running or lifting client will want to take up yoga or meditation or start to do some things that for them is going to be therapeutic, but might not be your idea of what they should be doing. Expand on this one. Yeah.
Just coming from me, I am always been a go person. I want to push myself. I want to, you have the bucket list. You want to see what you can do. There's your Tough Mudders and your Spartan races and your half marathons and all that kind of stuff. And prior to this, it was always what can we do next? I have a great group of training friends that we would, do races with or whatever. And after this happened, I kind of took a step back. I knew first off that I needed to find something that was going to calm me. I have a very, very hard time doing yoga or even meditating. I struggle with that. I just would rather just go. I knew I had to find something that was more calming and, a way to reduce the stress. I'm going to be honest, I'm still struggling with that. But I look at kind of my whole bucket list and I say, is it really worth it? We have 2 young boys, and I now, you kind of have that fear of maybe is it safe, is it not safe? And I know people are going to say you can't live your life like that, but you do. No matter what, you will think like that. Maybe I don't need to push as hard as I push, or maybe I don't have to do another Spartan race, or maybe I don't have to do another half marathon. Maybe I'm just going to go out and walk. Maybe I'm just going to go do a nice, easy, moderate run. It's just, so as a coach, you've got a pretty consistent program going with your client, and all of a sudden they say to you, I really don't feel it. I don't want to be here. I don't want to, the program we're on, I don't want to do it anymore. And in your mind, you're probably thinking, well, no, I have to motivate this person. I have to keep them going. Instead, find out maybe that's where their path is completely changing. Maybe there's another trainer or coach in your facility that trains a completely different way, or maybe they specialize in yoga. Maybe they want to go there. Maybe they want to take time off and just spend it walking or hiking and just be outside. It's not a bad thing. It's a way to deal with that grief and that emotion. And for me, I found that I've just kind of pulled back and would rather train by myself, whereas before I was, always wanting to be with somebody else and run with a partner or lift with a partner. And now I'm more comfortable being by myself because, again, if I start crying in the middle of my lift or the middle of my run, then I don't have to make anybody else feel uncomfortable. It's all me.
Yeah. Well, there is no crying in strength and conditioning, okay?
Yeah.
Just had that Tom Hanks screaming at that. That's my image of there's no crying in strength and conditioning. So I want to segue the survivor's guilt being real. And, we were talking about this with my brother and what I just said, you kind of feel like, especially with the suicide, because for my brother, it was everybody thinks, and believe me, that guilt goes really far with a lot of people. Like my cousin who I hadn't seen my brother in like 3 years, like, oh, I wish I would have known he was in trouble. He could have stayed with me. And I'm like, wow, man, it's amazing how, so many people feel that, and, but the thing is, like I said, first of all, you're regretting some of the red flags, and I want to talk about those in a few minutes that you now recognize. But again, you got to let yourself off the hook a little bit because, first of all, you're not expected to recognize some of those things all the time. You're not educated about them. Also, maybe Pete would have said, "No, I'm fine. So just expand a little bit on that feeling, and we'll get into some of the things you're doing to raise awareness about those red flags. First of all, what those red flags are as well. Talk to us about that.
Well, with the red flags and the guilt, it all kind of ties together because, I believe and I know I should have recognized what was happening at the time. But what I really want to stress to people is we have a mentality of it's not going to happen to us. If we're in this industry, we're strong, we're healthy. Are you kidding? I'm going to live till I'm 80, 90 years old. I'm not going to have any issues. And that is, I know it's ridiculous to think that way, but we feel young, we feel healthy. And my husband was a very active person. He had no markers. He was not obese. He was not a smoker. There was no family history there. And he, from his childhood, was very active. He played tons of sports. He got me into mountain biking. He was a hiker. He ran. It was, and he was always the one that was kicking my butt if we ran or if we hiked, right? So there's guilt there that I didn't recognize what was going on. And obviously there's the, kind of a typical survivor's guilt of me surviving and watching our boys grow up and seeing something as basic as a blue sky, right, that he's never going to see again. But the symptoms now that I look back were very, very clear. And when I talk about it, it's very frustrating and there's a lot of anger because how could you be so stupid not to do something about it? He had complained a lot of just his legs ached, right? So he had a lot of fatigue. And remember, he was really, really active. And probably at least the last year that I look back, slowly these red flags were getting a little bit more, they occurred more and more and more. And I was just thinking in my head all the time, oh, he's just less active. Achy legs. Well, you know what? Just grab a trigger point roller and do some rolling. Go see a massage therapist, see your physio. His fatigue, he worked 12-hour shifts. He worked Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and he had 4 days off during the week. So he would work 12-hour days. He was a millwright. He'd come home from work, and he would sleep from the point right after he ate dinner. He would sleep until he would go to bed. All evening he would sleep, and it got worse and worse. And he would say, I can't even keep my eyes open. And we blamed it on, hey, you work 12-hour shifts. It's a long day. You're physical in your job. There was, again, that mentality of it's not going to happen to us, or it's not going to happen to me. We had gone mountain biking one day, came home, and this is, this one I just want to slap myself in the face over it. He had, just complained of his chest hurting, and you look back and you go, how could you be so dumb? But again, at the time, we would look at each other and he'd be like, oh man, I got to get back into mountain biking more. I'm not mountain biking enough. I'm not as active as I used to be. It was always an excuse for it. And the evening that he passed away, he had complained of really bad heartburn. He had played shinny, he'd played hockey, came home, and then he ended up passing away in bed, early in the morning. And he woke me in the middle of the night and asked if we had any Rolaids. He had heartburn, and I was half asleep, not even cluing in. The only thing I could say was no, and I fell back to sleep. All of those red flags, they're all kind of happening at one time. That's what's so important to understand. And, something that is continuing on, like the achy legs or the fatigue or the chest pain that he would experience, that's pretty common sense. But our mentality today, especially with men at his age, he was 46, men at that age that are fairly active just don't think about it. And they have I am made of steel. I have the mentality, or we have the mentality that nothing's going to happen to us. And if you're not really, really brutally sick or something's not broken, why would you go to your doctor? And that's really his mentality. He just didn't get it. I don't need to go to the doctor. I'm fine. And even though I would think about things and say, this isn't right, you need to see your doctor, you haven't had a physical, I would right away push it out of my mind because I was thinking negatively. I was thinking, how could I think something like that? Because I knew my husband, he was healthy. So if I can, encourage as many, and I'm kind of hitting the market of males at his age because that's what I know. And that's what I think we are starting to experience and see a little bit more of is that mentality, and it has to change.
Yeah, I can tell you there's at least 2,000 of my listeners right now, like going to the doctor in about 10 minutes because, those are, I'm 49, right? So it's the same thing. Like I get heartburn sometimes, maybe it was the coffee, maybe it was what I ate. And I think same thing with the legs, what did I do in the gym today or whatever. But I think there's this idea of, especially a bunch of us, any of us that have played a lot of sports, we kind of go, we kind of go through it. We're like, oh yeah, we're working through it. If you've listened to the podcast on pain, it's the same idea. It's like, if there's no red flag for a lot of us because we kind of grew up like that, especially if you played any kind of sport where, you're getting hit, you're like, oh, where'd I get this bruise? Where'd I get that from? Exactly. So you kind of blow it off. And there is that mentality.
For athletes as well, we understand what it's like to have a practice or a hockey practice or a basketball practice or a soccer practice where, you feel like halfway through the practice, like, holy crap, right? It's so physically demanding. I remember basketball practices like that in high school. And so as an athlete, you just, you shake it off, right? I think that, again, that's that mentality. And especially for men in that age group, they're Superman. They can do it.
I know
we got to change that mentality.
Yeah. And so tell us, though, also, those are some of the things that, again, they're signs. I think they're Monday morning, especially Monday morning quarterback signs because, again, those are, but like you said, they were all happening together. That's one of that could be a big red flag, I guess. What are some other things that we should kind of, because we're all working. That was another reason when I saw this and you and I were talking about raising awareness was, look, we all have these clients that are in their 40s and that are in pretty good shape, are former athletes, but we don't always know what their diet is or how much they're drinking or what their family. I don't know some of my guys' real family history. I didn't delve that much into some of their stuff. So, what are some other things that if you had to just say, listen, this is what you need to be looking for, and here's some more red flags. What's some other ones?
Well, one for sure that actually didn't touch base on is the stress. I mean, obviously, we all understand the fight or flight and what it can do inside of the body. Basically, it's my thing is just understanding what we don't see, right? That piece of the puzzle that people are missing, and they're not going to the doctor. But my husband was a very type A personality, and it probably doesn't help that I'm like that too. But it was if you want it done right, you do it yourself. He was always on all the time, and he wasn't aware of that. I would point it out. I'd be like, dude, relax. It's okay. It's, you're freaking out over something that's so minor. But he would kind of be like, no, I'm not. He wouldn't understand that. And I think that type of personality, we see it all the time, and again, I have to say I am also like that. That has to be addressed, and that has to be pointed out, and that's where it is important for us to find ways to calm ourselves down, because you go through stress throughout your whole day, and you're driving from work to texting, whatever you're doing, everything is related to stress, but people aren't handling that stress properly. And it's also accepting it and recognizing it that maybe that is the type of personality that you have, and how can you add different things into your day to help deal and help cope with that. But I honestly believe in this age group or this type of person that maybe doesn't have those markers, or like I said, is not obese, is not a smoker, leads a pretty active lifestyle, who thinks that they're made of steel, that nothing's going to happen to them. Maybe you got to turn around and say, well, wait a second, really, how am I dealing with my days? What is my stress level like? What is my work like? Maybe it's your relationship. Maybe, I don't know. That is a big part of the puzzle, and that's what we don't see. That's what's happening on the inside, and it's that piece of the puzzle, right? That see your doctor, and don't be ashamed or afraid that you're just going to walk in and say, hey, I just want to make sure I'm healthy. It's not a burden on the system, and it's not a burden on your doctor.
Yeah, it's true. We always put off going to the doctor too. What are there any things you're doing like now in the gym, to kind of make sure, like, I don't know, whether it be some of the Anna Hartman's resting postures at the end of the workout, or trying to educate people about meditation, or trying to educate people about dealing with their stress. Is there anything that you're kind of, and you might not be doing it yet, but I mean, moving forward, are some things that you want to start to implement within your training that, can kind of help some of these things?
The facility I'm a co-owner with in Vernon, it's a training facility, so we specialize in private and semi-private and group training. After this had happened, me and my business partner sat back and said, we really need to educate people on heart health and heart disease, and we have to be serious about it. It's not just, hey, come join and do some training. It's an actual program where it would be working with the doctors. We actually are part of a medical facility, so the doctors are upstairs, we're below them, and we really would be working with the doctors very, very closely. And before this happened, we didn't know if it was our market, right? We just thought, maybe not our market, maybe we can refer out. But one of our kinesiologists on staff is taking that over, and it's very, very important, obviously close to my heart, and it's something that is our market because, again, Peter, my husband, was one of our our markets. He's a client that we would have. He's our type of client. So it's definitely our market. It's our key market. And we need to be a little bit more involved in that. So that is one aspect that we are taking on, medically supervised and non-medically supervised. And what I mean by that is programming with individuals who have been diagnosed, they do have heart disease, and then other individuals that would be like my husband before this that just would, realize that they have to do something, and they have to pay a little bit more attention to their health. But outside of the facility, what I've actually started to work on with a company called Sproing Creative out of the town I live in is it's an awareness video. And people are probably going to say, well, hey, I'm aware of this. I don't understand the idea behind it. Again, we are creating a video to hit this market, and I have pulled in the hockey community. I'm really, really proud of the end of the goal of the end result. If everybody remembers the Ice Bucket Challenge, the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, that created a lot of awareness. That everybody was doing that. What we are actually doing with this heart health or heart disease awareness video is we have pulled on board many professional hockey players, professional teams, university, junior A. Honestly, I think this is going to be a big deal. And what we're doing in the video is we are telling this story, right? It's Peter's story. It's my husband's story. We're telling what actually happened. We're telling the red flags. There's doctors involved. It is an educational awareness video, but I've pulled the hockey community in because that's what's going to hook people, right? Most people aren't going to care to watch it because it's a stranger, right? They don't know my husband. They don't know me. Why would they spend the time to watch it? But if they know that there's hockey players involved or there's people they respect in the NHL and they want to see this, then hopefully they're going to spend the time and watch the video. There's a website that's going to follow it that we're going to use as a forum for people dealing with grief. So, really a place for people to go and just talk about what they're going through and talk with like-minded people that are experiencing the same thing. So it helps with healing. And it's also going to be in a website where you can learn. You can go and say, hey, I'm not sure about what I'm feeling here. Maybe if I just go to this website, it'll give me a little bit more tips and some motivation to go see your doctor. So we're hoping that it's out in April at the end of April, I should say. And really the goal after it's released is that is what everybody will be doing, is using social media, sharing the video, encouraging others to share this video. And my goal is that it will go global. It will motivate people to really take heart disease seriously, because yes, it's a brutal killer, and I think it's ignored. We always think about cancer, and we always think about other things. But heart disease, is as bad as it sounds. For a lot of people, it's an old people's disease. Yeah, you get older and you have a heart attack. No, that's not the case. So if the hockey community that I am so passionate about, if I can pull them on board, if I can get people watching and sharing and making them take a second thought about, holy crap, maybe I need to spend a little bit more time on me, or maybe I need to see my doctor, or I have to be aware about what I'm feeling, then we've saved some lives. And we've saved, a husband's life. We've saved a father's life. And, for what me and my two children are going through, a wife or children should not have to grow up without their father or their husband if there's a chance to save their life.
Yeah, that's great stuff, and you should be proud because it's definitely inspiring to see this. This is a really quick turnaround. I mean, Peter died in November, and this is only April. And just looking at your blog, and I'll have a link for that for everybody to check it out. You were writing as early as December 2nd.
Yeah.
And, I know how that can be therapeutic, but it can also be a little scary. And I think, we definitely commend you for, writing this article and having it relate to strength and conditioning and coaching, and certainly help to bring some awareness to not only this demographic but really just to people in general. So keep us posted, because we will definitely be sharing this, and hopefully all the listeners will be helping to make that go viral too. So Rhonda, thank you so much for coming on today.
I appreciated it. Thank you very much, Anthony.
All right, that's going to do it for episode 183 of the Strength Coach Podcast. Special thanks to Chris Pryor, Aaron McGurr, and the folks over at Perform Better. You can check them out at performbetter.com for all their products and info on their educational seminars. Thanks to Coach Boyle and Rhonda Catt for sharing their insights and philosophies into the world of strength and conditioning and performance enhancement. Please think about buying a t-shirt in our cause to help out Brendan Rierick in his battle against aplastic anemia. You can go to booster.com/collect moments to help contribute. We have a nice Collect Moments Not Things t-shirt, and all the proceeds are going to help Brendan with his expenses. Thanks to Rachel Cosgrove for the Results Fitness University Business of Fitness segment. Check them out at resultsfitnessuniversity.com. Brett Jones and Functional Movement Systems. Check them out at functionalmovement.com. Brent Calloway for his insights into the art of coaching with Exos. Check them out at teamexos.com/education. Lee Taft and the Complete Speed and Power Summit. Check them out at speedandpowersummit.com. They only have a few spots left for the summit in May. And of course, remember, you can join strengthcoach.com and have access to the site for just $1. That's 3 days, just $1. Once your 3-day trial is over and you become a member, you'll be able to download Coach Boyle's 2 books. And remember, if you have a staff of 2 or more and you'll want to sign up as a group, we have a special membership offer for you, up to 50% off. To access those offers, go to strengthcoach.com, click the Join Now button to get started on your trial. My name is Anthony Rand, and you can reach me at strengthcoachpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks again, and I'll speak to you next time.